Good evening, everybody. I don't have a lot of time, but I wanted to do something a little different today. I thought it would be nice to occasionally do some reading of poetry. And to start my first time doing this, I wanted to read through all of the poems that my brother Tex wrote when he was only 17 years old. He wrote a small little booklet of poems, and they were published when he was only 17. My dad did all of the illustrations, so I thought you might find interest in that. Um, I'll try to keep up with the live chat too. Let me know what you think about this, and if you want to see me read other poetry, even famous poetry, we can do that. Or if you don't want to see more, let me know. Hey, Julie, um, let me show you the book that my brother Tex had published when he was 17. My dad did the illustration of this book. It's Reflections in a Tear. It says, if I can get it to show the whole thing, by Tex Norman. There it is. And forgive me for it having a few stains on it. It's definitely an old book. Because when he was 17, I was 4 years old. So it was over 55 years ago, approximately. Um, but I'll show you the illustrations when I have one to show you that my dad did inside the book as well. The first poem I actually turned into a song, but I haven't come up with background music for it yet. It's called Love Song. The country is calling, hear the whispering pine, whispering a call for you to be mine. Oh, wonder, hear the country sounds, calling, calling, all around. Can't you hear in the country sounds a true love call for thee? Or must I wander all alone, following the country's call for me? The country is calling, hear the birds on the wing, singing a love song that's sung in the spring. The country is calling, hear the whispering pine, whispering a call for you to be mine, for you to be mine, for you to be mine. Yeah, my oldest brother was a very extremely talented poet. He couldn't spell, but he could write poetry. um, I know I'm making noises here. Um, I need to put music to that first one. I have the melody. This is this one's titled Reminiscence, or a short story in verse. And parts of this poem make me kind of think of something by Simon and Garfunkel back in the 60s. Anyway, this is Reminiscence. I used to go down to Mr. Baldwin's house on rainy days, except when I was in school, of course. Mr. Baldwin was an old retired fireman who then lived in a wheelchair because of an ache in his bones. We used to sit for hours while the rain fell and played game after game of chess. Like that old man, because I liked that old man because he never not even once let me win a game of chess just because I was 10 years old. If I won a game of chess, I always knew I had won it fair and square. Well, we used to sit around at his house playing chess and drinking lemonade. He told me lots of stories about being a fireman and fighting fires and stuff. Sometimes he would talk about when he was a little kid like me. He had a lot more fun than I ever did. Well, as I neared 11 years of age in life, I began to notice girls, and one real special girl. Her name was Piper. She went to my church. I told Mr. Baldwin about her, and he said I should go see her sometimes. He said he didn't mind me not coming to see him as much as before. And so I started going over to Piper's house on rainy days. I didn't see much of Mr. Baldwin after that. I felt kind of bad the day he died. I took my I took my chess set out on the back porch and smashed each piece with a hammer. I never thought I would ever play chess again, and I never thought I would like girls again either, yet I did. Got me a little choked up, I'm sorry. Okay, so this one it has an illustration, and this is an illustration my dad did. He did all of the illustration in black ink. This next poem is called Something Else. The world was a garden of dead things, and I dwelt there alone. After some time of searching, I found one single yellow rose left. It was surrounded by the crisp brown uglies. I stood in awe, worshiping the one beautiful thing that was left in the world. And I stood there in silence. A very old woman came and cut the flower from its stem. I lost my control and struck that old woman. I threw the flower into the mud and stomped it down and covered it over with dirt. Hide it from my sight, I shouted. It must be destroyed before it withers. Do not let me see it become as the rest of the world. Hey, Andy, thank you. I'm just reading through my oldest brother's poems that he wrote when he was 17. This next poem is one of my favorites of his. It's called Then and Now. When I was younger, about 7 years old, I used to spend all my time alone, walking around the gravel pits. I found many beautifully colored rocks. I always came home with my pockets filled with a shining treasure. Once I found a $5 bill. I had more money than I wanted then. I had a lot of trouble finding ways to spend it. I wish I had known you then. I would have bought you the world. Now I'm broke. I haven't the money to take you out and buy you pretty things. But come with me anyway. Come, let us run over grassy green hills. I will give you a wild rose and a red-brown leaf. We will sit in the sunlight and listen to a symphony of birds. I can't buy you the world, but I can show you life. I love that poem. This is a short one called Portrait of a Man. I have no eyes, my ears have gone deaf, my legs are crippled, so I sit. I sit alone in the sunshine, but reach my hand out into the darkness. Sometimes, not often, but sometimes, I wonder just what it is I'm reaching for. I do have to let you know one thing about my oldest brother. He suffered from being bipolar his entire life. So a lot of these poems are not very happy, but um, they're still good poems, and I like all of them. I hope you agree. This one is called A Crushed Butterfly. The butterfly lay dying on the sidewalk. A child sat nearby with comforting child talk, and the butterfly's wings trembled, flapped, trembled, and stopped. A sad bird began to sing, and the boy walked away. All this happened in the middle of a day. When the boy returned, he found that footsteps had trampled a beautiful butterfly into an ugly, damp pulp. The next morning, he slept late, later than ever before. He was no longer a happy little boy. He preferred his dreams to a world of a crushed butterfly or a broken toy. Thank you, Andy, for sharing. This one is called Need, and it's not very long either. Need with a question mark. Even the man who believes in nothing still needs a girl to believe in him. I believe in many things. How much greater is my need? So simple and powerful at the same time. This is a poem called My Thoughts on Crickets. It's a little longer. My Thoughts on Crickets by Tex Norman. I have heard in the early spring a tiny cricket begin to sing. I've heard its song turn into two. Two little crickets are very few, yet the number grows. And the summer night knows that my dreams will be filled with screams from 100 million crickets in song. And it will be silence that I long. I'll love the silence till at last a frost comes and settles on grass. The crickets' number dwindles down till only one cricket is left and found. He sings his last song in the night. He will be dead before morning's light. When I was younger, I used to cry for the last lonely cricket who sings to die. That was sad, but it's beautiful. Beautiful at the same time. Sorry for the noises in page turns. Okay, this one is called New Day. I like this poem. I turned in the darkness. The sleep fell from my eyes and would not return. I got up, dressed, then went outside. I was up before the sun. The air was clean, and everything seen was bathed in the blue light that came from the moon. And everything was still and fresh and beautiful. I began to ask myself the same questions everyone asks when they are 17. I asked about love. The crickets sing as I ask myself, is love something you fall into? Something that happens by accident? Is love passion, affection, respect for another? Is love all three? And then I think of the girl I love. Yes, no other word will do. I think of the girl I love. Do I love her too much or not enough? If I loved her less, would she love me more? When I speak to her, do I sound corny or phony? Am I nothing but a bore? The morning mist is leaving now. A glow is seen in the east, and the moon slowly fades. The moon goes down, and the sun comes up, and the world goes round, and life seems like an up-down merry-go-round. It's the birth of a new day. The paper boy throws the papers. The milkman begins his deliveries. Women, with their hair in curlers, wearing old bathrobes, peek out their doors, grab their milk, and disappear again into houses. Cars pass by, and now the sun is high enough to kill all signs of the night. And I know I'm right. It's the birth of a new day. It's a neat poem. Me at 15 is his next poem. This is not very long. I run through the valleys of thought. I'm lost in a canyon of reason. I ponder and dream in abstract thought. An answer is what I sought, but now I am caught in the musing meditations of the mind. I live in the twilight of manhood. Will the sun ever rise? This is another illustration that my dad did for this next poem. Let you see it here. See if I get it higher. Higher. Okay. It's a lonely man walking, or a silhouette of a man walking down a street, a sidewalk with lampposts, and underneath it, it says, "A lonely world of street lamps." And so this is the next poem, called June the 12th. Hey, Jeffrey, I'm doing okay. I'm reading poetry from my oldest brother that he wrote when he was 17, and it was published in a little booklet. This is called June the 12th. I walk the streets searching for an answer. My life is like a teardrop never used. I shout to a lonely world of street lamps, a lonely world of people who don't care. I look deeply into the faces of everyone passing by. They are ashamed, and they hurry past me, muttering about the time, or the weather, or just anything that's unimportant. As I look into their faces, I see a reflection of my own soul, and I want to weep, but I can't. So I shout again, my life is like a teardrop never used. A teardrop should be used, dear one. I have never been so lonely. I have never needed you more. Okay, this is another one of my favorite poems of his, called Only a Dream. Let me get a drink of water. Okay, Only a Dream. When I woke up this morning, you were on my mind, and all this day I have felt like a little boy's yellow balloon that floats on a string and goes on long, lazy walks on cool, breezy summer days. Only last night our shoulders touched in a happy accident. And oh, too slowly our fingers found each other. We held hands with alternating pressures to show that each was conscious of the other. When I was with you, I forgot that my past was filled with sleepless nights where loneliness called to me from every corner of the room. I forgot that once my soul was in such pain that it screamed when I was alone. I only thought of you. Only last night, the little love you gave me said, "Go, run, laughing into tomorrow." And I whispered back, "Come with me." Hey, Chris. Sorry, I always get teary when I read that one. I think I relate too much to it. This is called I Have a Soul. Yes, I have a soul, it whimpered last night. So I said to my soul, for pity's sake, I told you not to sing the songs of the heart. The heart sings songs of truth, and the truth spouts from my mouth, naked under, naked and unafraid. And when they hear me sing the songs of my heart, they say, "He is a fool. For pity's sakes, I told, uh, I'm told there are few who dare to look upon the truth unclothed." Sorry, I had a little trouble reading that one. Um, this poem is called Elsewhere. I can remember when I was much younger, I used to sit on the shores of the Gulf of Mexico. Sometimes I would feed the seagulls pieces of bread. Large numbers of gulls would hover above me, and I would toss the bread crumbs high into the air. The gulls could catch the bread before it fell to the ground. I remember once, while I was feeding the gulls, a ship came in from fishing. Someone dumped a large barrel of fish heads and guts over the side. The gulls left me and started flying over the floating remains. The things I offer are not as good as the things found elsewhere. Hey, Blackwatch. Reading poems of my oldest brother, Tex. He died in 2019. But these poems were written when he was 17 years old, and my dad did illustrations for it and had it published back when I was only about, I think I was 3 or 4 years old. I can't remember. But anyway, this next poem that Tex wrote is called A Wish. I would like to see the world as it is before they show it to me. I'm sure it must be very beautiful, for I have often heard people speak of it as if it were. Allergies. Um, that one kind of makes me laugh a little, um, but I hope you can relate to that one. This is called Other Side. It's a very short poem. On the other side of the hill, a blind man I see as he faces the sun and feels the heat of early rays and stares into the empty darkness. Goodness. My nose is running like crazy. Big Boys Don't Cry is the next poem. Big boys don't cry. I stopped when I was 8. I wish I hadn't. It would help if I could cry at the end of a good love or the beginning of a new one. Sometimes it would be nice to cry for something beautiful or gentle, but big boys don't cry, at least not in front of anyone. Hey, Beagle Mom. Just reading poetry that my brother Tex wrote. He was my oldest brother. He died in 2019. He wrote these when he was 17. This one is titled Why. Why did you laugh at the things most important to me? The world is hard enough to face without you becoming a part of it. Come ye out from among them. Come chase a moth instead of a butterfly. Come walk along with me, for I have plans and places to go, and a dreary day may come tomorrow. So, come ye out from among them, I cannot come to you. Okay, this one that Tex wrote is called View from the Hill. It's a little bit longer. Okay. Weeping, weeping, soldiers sleeping, never to wake again. A man lost more than most lose. 4 sons fought, 4 sons died, and mothers at midnight morose have cried till all the tears at last have dried. I weep the weary tears of woe. Why in the world do we need to fight? We live in a world of eternal night. There's never a day, and we can't pray, for we're too busy killing and filling the graves all up. Bloody the bodies below us lay, bodies that bloat and burst in the sun. Still soldiers run, on, and on they go, up the hill, cursing, crying, praying, dying. Buddies lie, dying in dirt. Some soldiers scream that their wounds do hurt, and still day and night they battle. They fight, till at last the hill is theirs. The victory is ours, hooray, they say. The victory is ours, hooray. But downward they look at the damned and damaged hill they had won. There really wasn't much of a view. I guess you could say Tex was not very fond of war, to say the least. When he was a little boy, or actually, I think he was in high school, a boy wanted him to meet him after school to fight, and he came up and asked him to do that. And my brother said, "Why don't we do dirty looks at 40 paces?" And the guy laughed and said, "I can't beat up anybody that funny." Yeah, I'm thinking about trying to do every now and then do a reading of poetry, and I'm probably going to start reading famous poetry because um, I only have one little booklet of poems by my brother Tex. I have written a few poems, but I don't think mine are very good. Anyway, we're almost halfway through the book. This next poem is called The Prophet. The prophet came into the city and stood in the marketplace until a silence had fallen upon the people. Then he opened his mouth to teach them, saying, The Master hath said unto me that thou hast sinned, and even now you live in sin. You must turn from darkness into light. You must follow my teachings, for I know the way. Then he told them what they must do. for he knew the way. And when he had finished with his teaching, the people became angered. They gnashed their teeth and fell upon him, throwing him out of the city, where they began to stone him. As the stones rained upon him and his life gushed from his wounds, his voice rang out into the heavens, saying, Lord, Lord, look upon this thy servant. And a voice from heaven came saying, Who is it that calls my name? It is the prophet, he said. And the Lord said, Who? This is called Sonnet 1. My nose is still running. Sonnet 1. The snow keeps falling, snow upon snow. Gently it tumbles and falls all around, standing in flurries, and morning's glow. I stare at the pure white snow-covered ground. The snow is white, like the down of a dove, but I know that soon the snow will turn gray. White turning gray is like one-sided love. Snowmen are standing in front of yards all day. I know that soon they will all melt away. A teardrop rolls on my cheek from my eye, and I slowly reach my hand to the sky. Into my hand a snowflake gently falls, and a wintry breeze whispers and calls. I close my fingers as the snowflake melts. Now, this poem is, I'm sure I'm boring you, but I like reading these poems. This poem is called Sonnet 2. A mother stood waiting, all dressed in black, waiting for her son's body to come back. He's in a steel box, gift wrapped with a flag. His once firm body now limp as a rag. There is hope for the country, sings the bird. Hope for the country. Hope for the country? Is the song absurd? We wait, and time rolls on by. Hope for the country? The song was a lie. The bird has been silenced by shotgun blast. Now the bird lies rotting in the tall grass. In the darkness, a nation is calling. Must we heed what we hear or keep stalling? If we heed the call, will the darkness die? If we heed the call, will the country rise? Okay. Here's another illustration that my dad did for the book. It's just a rose with black ink. And this next poem is called I Am Afraid. I'm afraid of you, yes. I am too different, and you may not understand how very much I need you. Dear one, be gentle, or you'll break me as if I were a crisp, dried flower that has spent much time on the windowsill, basking in the sun. I should not love you. It would be best if I didn't, but I don't always do what is best for me. Hey, Retro. I'm reading poems from a little booklet that my oldest brother wrote when he was 17. My brother Tex, and he died in 2019. I do want to warn you again, some of these are very negative or sad poems, but my brother suffered from being bipolar his entire life. So that kind of explains it. This one is called I Weep in My Thoughts. I took my thoughts out and showed it to the moon. But my thoughts screamed with pain, saying, the moon is very beautiful, yet it is all alone. But look, I said, there are many stars. No star could be lonely tonight. My thoughts began to weep all the more, saying, the stars are so far away. How can I be sure that they are real? This is another short poem called I Am. I am like a breath, not the inhaling, not the exhaling. I am in the middle, the in between. I am like that one moment when nothing happens, yet anything could. Sorry, I messed that up. um, Pretty interesting poem. Hi, Pop Pot. This poem is called Morose. In the wind, my hopes were lost. Dreams were killed by winter's frost. Yet I remember sunshine and hay and birds that sang all the day. I remember when days were still and fingers laced we walked our hill. I also remember that day very well, that day you left me and bid me farewell. What was the cause of your leaving that day? Like a mist, saying nothing, you drifted away. Still as a vigil on our hill, I stand, keeping watch on the past as long as I can, and in the wind my hopes are lost, my dreams are killed by winter's frost. This poem is uh, called Quiet Wet Air. Quiet wet air was meant to be used by lovers. Nothing is better than for lovers. Nothing is better for lovers than to walk down damp dirt roads, holding hands and listening to the sound of footsteps. I think that's a great thing too. This is another one that's kind of sad. Um, Thoughts on finding a dead dog in the gutter. I don't know how that old dog died. He might have been kicked to death by little kids. It might have been old age, but I think it was a car that did it. Yet it doesn't really matter, does it? I found the dog laying stiff in the gutter. His eyes were wide open. His last expression was still on his face. That old dog met death with a struggle. His teeth were still showing. I sat on the curb looking down at him, and I wondered, do people also meet death with snarls on their faces? And what do they do to bodies at the morgue? At the morgue, do they slice muscles and hold faces into a peaceful expression so that the family can file by the body and talk about how natural pale, his pale, shriveling body looks? Well, it doesn't really matter, does it? I didn't cry as I sat by that old dead dog. I smiled a little though. My father says I never cry because I haven't got a compassionate heart. I smiled because I thought the dog needed a smile more than tears. But I couldn't have cried anyway. I don't know why, but I never cry anymore, at least not where anyone can see. That old dog sure looked like he had been through a lot. I liked him for that. I don't think anyone should meet death gently, but it doesn't really matter, does it? And this is called A Dream. I dreamed that I was alone. I dreamed that I was all alone and caring not for this dream. I awoke and found that it was all true. Very short and to the point. This is called It Rained Today. It rained today. Why is it we could not be together when the rain began to fall? Walking in the rain can bring two people so very close together, and never have two people needed to be brought together as much as we do. Perhaps we could find some kind of understanding in silence, with only the sound of falling rain as we stand shoulder to shoulder and feel the drops shatter upon our faces. I like that one. Um, this one is called The Parabolic Song. There was once a man who wanted to sing, so he studied and practiced and prayed. Then finally, there came his day to sing. He stood so proud, his introduction was played, and he sang to the world, but heard no cheers. And then he saw they had no ears. Hey, Kiki, good to see you. These are poems my oldest brother Tex wrote when he was 17. He died in 2019. But he got this little book of poems published when he was 17, and my dad did all of the illustrations. And I'm showing the illustrations when I come to them. This poem is called Whispering. Try to remember a time when there was snow on the ground, when the air was filled with happy sounds of lovers and laughter and whisperings about things beautiful. Do you remember a time in December when the blue light shone off the snow-covered ground, and I kissed you and I loved you, and you said goodbye? I recall the time with a sigh, for I was in love with you. I was in love with a smile from your eyes. My ears heard nothing you said. I only heard love that was not there, and I whispered of things beautiful. This is called The Teacher. Life, world, sweet existence. Electric guitars are so loud that we can't even hear the birds sing. Sorry, that's all right, Steve-O. It's all right if you're late. Um, I'm just reading poetry, so if you're bored and you don't want to hear it, that's fine. This is the next illustration my dad did for the poem I'm about to read. The poem is called New Love. Underneath the picture, it says, New love, be gentle. And that's the beginning of the poem, too. New love, be gentle. I have been set apart for so long, and there have been so many who didn't understand, so many who didn't even care. I need so badly the soft voice and tender touch, the laughing in the wind. New love, be gentle and try to understand. Yet if you feel that you must leave, then go. Go while my eyes are soaking up a beautiful world, and please don't let me see you walk away. This poem is called Watching. I sit in a yellow field watching children play. It's an evil way to play, but children don't know any better than to pick fists full of flowers and trap butterflies in jars. Okay, getting close to the end. This song is called I Sing. I sing you unknown love songs while I mow the grass. The motor's noise hides the words my heart sings. Why is it, when it's quiet and I fear that someone might hear, I can never remember the words? I like that one. This poem is called Thoughts. Sometimes I feel that you don't like for me to be at your side, and I feel that I must soon try to forget you. But you smile and wave goodbye. I know someday that we must part, but I put off our parting for just a little while. Someday I must try to forget you, but I don't know how I'll do it. Hey, Lori. Good to see you. Thanks, everybody who came and is staying. These are poems my oldest brother Tex wrote when he was 17. And we're almost done with the book, I think. Thoughts on funerals. It was to be his last social affair. That is, if you consider your own funeral a social affair. Everyone that was there filed by the body, me too. I saw the old man lying there, pale as the sheets in his coffin. The wrinkles of life were still on his face, but they too were faded. He never asked to be born. If he had, I'm sure it would have been denied him. He was born without his will, and he died against his will. And that was that. It will be the same for us. Not very cheerful. Okay. Maybe this one is better. Let's see. It's called A Sudden Walk. I stare out the window, watching children play, jump rope or marbles. They laugh and run and seem to have fun. But the end of the day is marked by growing shadows, and twilight comes in with a breeze. Time to eat, mothers call, and children come running. One by one, they disappear into houses, and the street is lonely, darkness all around, and I see myself in the window, dimly, then face to face. How could it be so late, I say, and I turn on lights. I sit and read short stories by Kafka, plays by Albi, and I'm tired. I've planned to go to bed early this evening. Staying home seemed natural tonight. Then suddenly I leave. I just dress warm and leave. Down the streets, down the street I go toward, well, no place in particular, and I can hardly keep from laughing right out loud for no reason. Or maybe I feel the urge to sing some dumb song, any song. I try to stop myself, but sometimes I just burst out in a wild noise or laughter or some dumb song about a girl with milk blue eyes. People look out their windows at me. He's crazy, they say. and they go back to watching TV. It's late. I don't see many people, but sometimes I see the bad boys with long hair and boots. And his girl, she smiles of too much, or she smells of too much makeup, uh, seat and dime store cologne. Some poor girls wearing pants with dirty hair and no virginity. They stand under street lights and make out. Snow begins to fall and I begin to laugh. On the way home, maybe I'll stop and see how a friend is getting on. He's crazy, they say, and they go back to watching TV. That's the end of the book. I don't know if you enjoyed it or not, but I hope you did. I know a lot of the poems are not very happy poems, but um, just wanted to share that book of poems that my brother wrote when he was 17. And maybe if you want me to read more poetry, you can make suggestions of famous poets and or poems that you would like me to read. And I might take another Sunday afternoon to do that in the near future. Uh, just wanted to let you all know also, I have opened a store on my channel that has merchandise that you can purchase if you're interested, but there's no requirement to do so. And I did create a new logo design. You can see it in the top corner of my screen. And it says JoeTenor with a song in my heart. You're funny, Blackwatch. Okay, I gotta go because I have a friend coming over to to have dinner with me, and we're gonna watch a movie. And so I wish you all a good rest of your Sunday. God bless you all. Have a good night. I'll try to sing tomorrow for you, and don't forget that it's an open mic. So if you want to come sing, join me. I didn't know Skype was going to end, Blackwatch, but I did kind of hear somebody say it might, but I didn't know that was for sure. Okay. God bless you all. Good night. Bye.